I'm gonna talk and you're gonna listen. I'm just kidding, you don't have to listen to me, but you should, just for fun. I wanted to talk about my process and what it's looked like working on a comic, my very first comic, and just the things that I've learned while doing it, especially just when it comes to the story. Because I feel like personally, and maybe other people can relate too, but just writing a story can be really intimidating. Maybe you know the beginning and maybe you know the end, but the in between is a little awkward. And it's like, okay, you're young, this is maybe your first big project. How are you even supposed to jump in? It's scary. But this is what it's looked like for me. And we're just going to ignore what's going on up here because, of course, I woke up and my bangs were just not cooperating. If you ever want to cut your bangs, just know that they have a mind of their own. So I started Steve's Tale, I think it was the freshman year of high school. I was probably 14, 15. It's kind of funny, I don't have all these numbers figured out before recording a video, but I know it was 7th, 8th grade when I got really into to Marvel comics, DC comics, and then in 8th grade especially, I just had this great idea for a comic that I was just obsessed with, and still to this day I really can't wait to write it all out. I've been formulating it in my head ever since 8th grade, so that's really exciting, but obviously it's not a project I've started yet because I'm a firm believer in starting small. It was my freshman year, that was 2019, 2020, and when COVID hit and we were all kicked out of school and stuck at home, I think that's when I really started. I was all like, I'm going to make a comic because I want to. And I know I need to get some sort of start. I can't wait around and hope that I just get better. So I just jumped right in. And I think what really gave me inspiration was actually a post online of someone saying, like, hey, artists, if you are having a hard time drawing backgrounds, you should build whatever you're trying to draw in Minecraft, and then you can just take a screenshot and trace right over it. So I did that a couple times, and I'm like, that's really cool. And at that time, my friend was really into Minecraft YouTubers, which, embarrassing, but she got me into it as well. So I was like, I can not worry about world building if I make a fan comic where the world is already built for me. I started with that idea and I figured maybe it's an overused trope, but I'll go with this idea that Steve is a character who he's an NPC and he's convinced that everything going on in this game is real because to him it's real life versus all these players that join and they're like, no, it's just a game, and he can't really understand that as a non-playable character. For all the character designs, this is a fun little piece of trivia about my comic. I had, in my freshman year of high school, I had a really awesome friend group, and I can give all the credit to my older brother who already had a lot of friends in high school. So then when I got into high school, we were close. So he had some really cool friends, some because we were band kids too, so we weren't afraid to be cringe and we weren't afraid to be ourselves. So I felt really comfortable just being able to be creative and be artistic. So I was like, guys, I have this idea for a comic and I want to do it. And they're like, that's great. You should do that. And I was like, okay, I need your help. What are your Minecraft skins and what are your Minecraft usernames? So that's how I came up with all the characters. They're actually based off my friends, well, loosely based off. I switched up the character design a little bit and I changed up the usernames a little bit. But yeah, they're loosely based off my friends' Minecraft characters, which is, I think that's fun. So we needed characters that were opposing Steve and then characters that were supporting Steve. I'm going to get into some spoilers. If you haven't already, please read my comic. The link is the first link in the description. I've been working on it for a long time now and I'm really proud of it. So read it. But basically, Zelda, there's this sense that he is like Steve because he looks like Steve and he kind of acts like Steve. He's just a normal guy. So Steve is convinced, oh, this is someone just like me. So Zelda's able to make him comfortable and then turn around and kind of backstab him in a way. Meanwhile, all these other characters are doing that look a little odd, they look a little different, and Steve is starting to understand, oh, I'm the odd one out. Things aren't really adding up. There's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with all of them. So that's kind of where the story really started to spawn. Like I said, it could be an overused trope, but I don't mean to toot my own horn. I think I did it pretty well. The first season, that's all that it's about. We're building up to Steve making all these realizations of he's not like all these other people that spawned into his world, and that there are a lot of things he doesn't understand, but he doesn't get why. At the very end, I will admit, the first season ends with a pretty big plot hole, which, granted, I could have done more to really answer some questions, but I feel like it's a good hook into the second season. Now, the second season, I don't want to give a lot away because I mean, I've only posted 2 chapters and I've never posted the script out anywhere, so I don't want to like spoil it. Comic illustrators out there who want to start, write out the script first, because that's a mistake I made with the first season. Is I was kind of drawing it out as it came to me when I really should have written it all down first. And I was halfway through the first season and I was like, okay, now like I really have an idea of how I want it to go. So then I wrote the rest of the season. I wrote out the entirety of the second season, and it introduces new characters, which, if you've read the first season, you know that there technically wasn't supposed to be any new players introduced to the world. But the fact that there is shows that things are different now, and it shows like this big surprise almost of all like, okay, now that Steve is gone, spoiler, Steve is gone, the world is different, and the world itself has changed because of Steve. So it's putting more of this emphasis and importance on who he is as an NPC and how the world kind of evolves around Steve. So anyway, I was really fortunate, like I said before, just to have an awesome friend group that really like egged me on and was just like, yeah, let's explore your creative ideas, like make this happen. So that's kind of how I put it all together. And it's not perfect. And I feel like as an artist, it's really easy to be really devoted to this idea in your head that's supposed to be perfect, but you really should start small. And as what I have done, I have a lot more ideas for comics where I've built the world, and I think that's a lot more exciting, especially now that I've really explored this idea of a fan comic where you're already given a world to work with. So now I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to like make one of my own and then be able to explain the world through like context clues and dialogue and stuff like that. So anyway, that's my strange ramble of how I really put the comic together and how I've been working on it so far and really what it's about. And I literally just work with Procreate on an iPad, and I just used Google Docs. So I feel like I say this pretty often, but there's no excuse to not start, like just jump in and go. With all that being said, I have a Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi. The link is in the description. I also have an Instagram. I have a Discord server. I have this and that. Blah, blah, blah. But really, please read my webtoon. Read a Steve's Tale on webtoon. The link is in the description. Thank you. Goodbye.